Hello everybody, welcome back to Around the Campfire, the ultimate summer camp podcast with AmeriCamp. I'm Harry from AmeriCamp HQ and we are back with the podcasts, which is fantastic. We are doing podcasts with so many of our influencers, people who have been to camp, people who are going to camp, and today I am joined with someone very special, someone who works with us in AmeriCamp as well and is one of our fantastic influencers. So can you introduce yourself, please?
Of course. Hello, everyone who's listening or watching. My name is Euan. I'm from Wales, and I will be going back to Camp Starlight for my third summer this summer as a general counsellor.
Amazing. And Euan, if you can tell everyone who's listening or watching kind of what you do with AmeriCamp, because I kind of said that you're an influencer. What does that entail? How did you get into it? Do you enjoy it?
Yeah, of course. So, like Harry said, I'm an influencer. It basically started out with me making TikToks from my camp during last summer. And then when I came back home to the UK, I had a little message asking if I'd be interested to join. I jumped at the opportunity. So now I make TikToks for AmeriCamp, promoting AmeriCamp, showing everyone what summer camp is like. And now I also help out with applications, emailing people, chasing up for information. So you may or may not have received a couple of emails from me as well.
Yeah, you probably have, everyone. So yeah, just check your inboxes if Euan's there, little mini celeb that we've got in AmeriCamp with us here. So Euan, like you said, this all started pretty much by going to camp to Starlight. You started doing videos. Let's rewind all the way back to before your first summer, and let's just talk about why you decided to do AmeriCamp. What made you, go towards Starlight? Like, let's just go into it of like how it all started, really.
Yeah, of course. So I was basically sat in one of my university revision lectures, bored out of my mind, scrolling through Facebook, and an ad popped up. And I was like, I've always wanted to go to the US. I've never been. You hear so many great things about like American culture, summer camp, and it's always something you wish you had growing up. And I thought, do you know what? I'm going to give it a go. I'm going to sign up. I left that lecture, rang my parents and said, how do you feel about me going to America for the summer? And they said, of course, do it. So I went home that night, filled out the application, paid my deposit, and I was on my way. And I actually signed up quite late. I signed up end of April.
Wow.
Yes, it was very late. And then I was put on review with Starlight mid-May, had my visa appointment end of May, and then flew out 2 weeks later. So it was a very quick process, and it was very on the whim, but I've loved it and I don't regret ever doing it.
That is crazy, end of May. To give everyone context, I think we probably opened 2026 applications in, when was it? Like March maybe? March or April? I think it was to be like March.
Yeah.
Crazy. So that's good that you got into Starlight so late. Will you let everyone know, Euan, what kind of camp Starlight is, the size of it? Because we know it really well, because my camp is so close. But for people who don't know, what is Starlight like as a camp?
Yeah, so Camp Starlight is in Pennsylvania. It's right on the border with New York. It's a co-ed, so it has both boys and girls, about 500 campers and around about 300 international staff. It's absolutely massive. It's got 2 lakes and everything. It is amazing. It's such a nice place to be. And it does all different kinds of activities, from your general sports to digital media, theatre. We have weekly theatre shows. We have a Broadway producer that does them, like massive productions. It is amazing. It's kind of like when you're filling out the application, you have like the traditionalist camps, the specialist camp. It is more on the traditionalist side, but it's absolutely amazing. I love it.
Yeah, it is a gorgeous camp. I've seen it many times. For people who don't know, Starlight and my camp, Tyler Hill, is in a place called Wayne County, which is where huge camps are. That's where like a lot of campers from New York, from Baltimore, they're really kind of affluent areas go to Wayne County to these massive camps, and they attract obviously loads of internationals, and like Euan said, there's just so many different sports that you can do there as well. Now Euan, you obviously weren't a specialist counsellor, you were a bunk specialist. What does that kind of incorporate? What was your day-to-day responsibilities like as a bunk specialist?
Yeah, so first of all, starting out off with getting the kids out to bed in the morning. You know, they're very tired. They don't want to get out of bed, but you've got to get them out. And then making sure their teeth are brushed, their clothes are neat, their clothes are clean. That's one of the big things. Shoes are tied. And then more or less just taking them all to their activities every period. So I'll start like we have 1 hour activity periods. So making sure they had all their equipment, water bottles filled, hats on, sunscreen, taking them to their activities, helping them out, engaging with it, doing it with them, and then making sure they showered, checking they had no visible cuts or injuries, taking them to a health centre if they needed it. So more or less becoming their parent for 2 months, doing everything they ask, more or less, within reason. And, you know, it's a tiring job. You're with the same 10 kids constantly, but you get to try all the different activities, which is why I kind of feel like general counsellor is kind of better than an activity specialist, because you get to do all the different things and you get to have more of the camper experience rather than just a counsellor experience. So
Yeah, and I'm guessing you were with the younger kids.
yes, we call them the juniors. My first time I had the youngest kids, so they're like, we call them lowers. And then last summer I had 8-year-olds.
I was exactly the same. My first year I was with the 7-year-olds, then I moved up my second year to go with the 8-year-olds. And I think if I went back a third year, I always thought like, would I stay with the kids or would I go for a different age group? But I feel like once you do your first summer with the kids, and it's probably more so for a general counsellor, I think you do just want to like keep going back to the same kids, because you probably know going from the first year to the second year, like you can see a difference in them, even though it's only like 1 year.
Yeah, when they first said I was going to be with the youngest kids, I thought, oh God, what have I got myself into?
Yeah.
Because the way they do it at my camp, you have like a one-to-one meeting, they ask you preferences, and I said no preference. And then I got placed with the younger kids, and I thought, this is going to be hard work. And whilst it was, there was like those moments of like pure joy with them, which I found I wouldn't have got with the older kids because I wouldn't have engaged with them as much. And then when I went back last summer, I said, lower juniors again, I want to give them to me again. And then this summer, I have sort of debated whether or not I want the lower kids again, as it most likely will be my last summer. But I do think I'll end up going back to the lower kids because I know them, I know how they work, and I know the other counsellors are going to be there as well.
Yeah, I think two things on that is when you said that you can like make better memories or like somewhere around that is, I remember in my first, or maybe my second year to be fair, one of the kids learned how to tie his shoelaces for like the first time, and the pure joy that like came from that, and I was like a part of that, and I was just like, oh my God, like I'll never forget that. The camper won't ever forget that as well. It is just things like that with lower camp especially that you're like, oh, like I actually do love it. But I must say there is pros and cons to both lower camp and upper camp, because we both know people who've been for like upper camp and they share completely different like stories to what we've experienced in lower camp. But I think what you said about going into the camp on the summer and just saying, you know, I'm open with my preference, because at the end of the day the directors know which personalities fit with which age groups, and I feel like you can't just go in saying I do not want this age group, it's not for me, when you've never done camp before.
Yeah, like I had no expectations going into it, and at my camp the bank specialists are only with the younger half anyway, so I only got to pick between 2-3 different age groups, and I just went no preference because I was like, I don't know what I'm looking for, what the experience is going to be like. And I didn't want to sort of limit myself, go right off the bat saying I want the inters or the plebes. I wanted an option of all of them, and then they placed me with the lowers, and I absolutely loved it. And like you said, like when they tie their shoelaces for the first time, all those memories have stuck, especially when they passed their swim tests. They've kept doing it each week, failed, and then all of a sudden they've passed. And those are really big moments, which I found the upper camp lot weren't really getting, but they were having good times as well.
Yeah, 100%. I think every little thing that happens, every little achievement is like massive as a counsellor, especially for the younger kids. So
Yeah.
I'm excited for you to kind of go back this year and see them grow even more, because it's going to be quite a jump from when you first were with them the first year. You like have literally seen them grow up for 3 years. It's actually crazy. If we kind of go back to camp as a whole, so Starlight is obviously huge. You've got like what, 600 campers, 300 plus counsellors as well. There's a lot of people who are flying really soon, and obviously this podcast is going to get uploaded before people fly out. So I think something that's on a lot of people's minds at the minute is orientation, because it's something that as a first-time counsellor is very nerve-wracking, and you don't know what it's going to be like. You're going to make friends, like you just don't know. What was orientation like at Starlight?
So my first summer orientation was kind of scary, because we had literally just landed, got on a bus, and then straight to our camp, straight into orientation as soon as we got there. And it was like 6 p.m. and the first activities were already going. And I kept worrying that people were going to judge me if I was to get involved, or what people were thinking. And then it was all of a sudden we were learning a camp dance. And I looked around and I thought, everyone else is doing it, so no one's going to care if I do it. And that kind of broke the nervousness for me. And then from that point onwards, I just loved it. I got more involved with everything. But most, like the first couple of days of our orientation was mainly getting to know each other, playing games, learning games that we could play with the kids. The first like full day, we just played games that entire day. That's all we did. And then we started getting into the more serious stuff, like looking after kids, meal times, unpacking, setting up our program areas. And what they also did at Starlight is, even though the bank specialists didn't really have somewhere to set up, we were then assigned to different program areas to help them set up. Then we were like their assistants throughout the summer.
Right.
So whenever the kids got to choose their activities, we would then go to that program area and help out when we worked in our bank specialist role.
Oh my God, that is actually such a good idea. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously I was in charge of gymnastics at my camp, and I would have absolutely died to have assistants throughout the summer. Like that would have been ideal. But no, that's really interesting.
My first summer, I was the assistant, digital media arts assistant.
Nice.
So I helped them make, like, we did badges and t-shirts and mugs and all that with them. And then last summer, they actually gave me my own program area, which I ran 2 periods a day, and it was game making. So we had like iPads that you could take a photo with, and like a video game would come to life depending on what you drew on the paper. And the kids absolutely loved it. So like that's another reason I like my role so much.
Yeah.
Is that we get the experience of both at Starlight, being a bank specialist and an activity specialist as well.
That is so interesting. I've never heard of that before. That is so cool that like you can be quite flexible with your role as well. So if anybody wants to be a general counsellor but wants hints of a specialist, then Starlight might be the best place to go. That sounds really good. And it's also good that you said about orientation that you're a bit like trepidatious at first, and you saw everyone dancing and you just thought, you know what, I'm just going to do it. Because I feel like every single person who goes to camp for the first time during orientation has that like kind of epiphany moment, whether that be like seeing everyone dancing or, you know, joining in on a game or something. For me, I remember in my first year of orientation, obviously on boys' side, I was just like really introverted, and I'm usually very extroverted, but camp really is completely something different to anything you've like described or like done before. And I remember we did like this tight and bright party where you had to wear like neon clothes, and all the boys were like oh my God, we don't have anything. Like, what should we do? Bear in mind, I was in the back of my bunk, like, just putting glitter everywhere. And then, like, the word got out, and everyone was like, oh, Harry has glitter. And then everyone would come to the bunk and be like, Harry, can you do my makeup? Can you do my glitter? And I probably did glitter on about 30, like, boy counselors. And, like, from then, I was just like, why am I worried about making friends? Like, it's gonna be fine. Everyone is in the same mindset. Like, I just need to enjoy myself. And literally from that moment, I just loved camp like 100%. So I think
I do think it's like I've never really thought about it, but like when I went to camp, I did realize like the British stiff upper lip is a thing.
Yeah.
Because we walked into the canteen, all this dancing, crying, hugging was going on, and all of us UK counsellors were just like, what the hell? Yeah. And then within a couple of days, you'd all got through it. But I was just like, it's because we would never do it back home. No. We would never be this sort of like outverted, excited, jumpy or dancey back home.
Yeah.
And that's the way we've grown up. And then going to camp is something completely different. And it's completely different, but I would say it helps people. Like, I left camp a completely different person to what I entered.
Yeah, I did too. And, what you say about, like, British people having that stiff upper lip, but then you are that person crying and laughing and hugging when you go back for the second year. And then, like, other British counsellors are like, wait, why is he doing that? That is so strange. But it literally just, that is the way that camp fosters atmosphere, I guess. Like, if you aren't being like that, then you're going to be like an outsider. Like, it's just part of the camp ethos. And I think it's such a nice part of camp. It's escaping reality, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it's that disconnect from the outside of camp. It becomes its own world. And then whatever happens outside of it, you find out when you leave. Yeah. And I quite like that.
Exactly. And you do literally go to camp as someone, and then you literally leave camp as someone else. Like, absolutely. It's always the case. And I think it just stays with you as well. You literally do change as a person. I think lots of people get scared about that. They're like, what do you mean I'm going to change as a person? And I'm like, you'll know exactly what it is when you go there. Like, I can't like tell you what your experience is going to be like, but you're just going to have to go through it and then realize what it's like, really. When you like during orientation, like the first few weeks of camp, how did you like adapt to the camp atmosphere? Were you like homesick at all? Did you feel like, this is fine? Like, what were your emotions the first weeks of camp?
So, like I said, I struggled the first few days of orientation, and then I started to break out of my shell. And by the end of orientation, I was excited for the kids to come, getting the bunk ready, getting the plaques ready to wave as they come in. And then as soon as I met the kids, it was full on from there. And I didn't really have downtime the first few days. But then once downtime started to settle in, I did start to get a bit homesick, started to struggle, and I even thought about leaving camp, but I thought, no, I've come all this way and going to do it. And I'm so happy I pushed through it. There was actually a video of me on Starlight's Instagram. It was during a dinner time, and they brought out the pots and pans and started banging, and they stopped right behind me, and it was like when I hit my bell, and the video is just of me giving them a dick stare for the entire thing. And then I woke up the next morning completely fine, and then loved every second of it from that point onwards. Like, you're going to struggle when you first go. Yeah. You're going to hit that low, but you just need to make it through that low, and then you're going to love it. It's just that adjustment period of being energetic, being full on, having responsibility, which you've never had before, as much responsibility, looking after a bunch of kids, time zones, everything is going to play a part in how you're feeling, but you just got to think on the other side of it is something much better, and you're going to love it. And that's what I did, and I got through it. So
yeah, and we're so glad you did, because look at you going back for your third year now as well. Everything happens for a reason, 100%. Obviously, you had them times that are tough, and everyone goes through it. Even when I went for my second year, I still had times where I was just so ready to go home, but it just happens, and it happens in life. And I feel like a lot of people look at camp and they sometimes do pick out the negative, and they say like, you are going to be like mega exhausted. And I'm like, yes, you will, but there's also really good times as well. So what was do you have like a favorite memory out of like either your first year or your second year? Is there something core there?
So my favourite memory of camp is something that happened with just counsellors. There was no campers involved, and it was during Camp Olympics or Colour War, depending on what you camp call it. And I don't know if your camp does it as well, sing.
No.
So
Oh,
basically,
sing. Yes.
Sing.
Yeah.
So the way our camp does it is we take the entire hall and we make these big, massive sets out of paper and wood, costumes for all the kids.
Yeah.
And there's about 10 counsellors picked for each team. And we do these full-scale things covering almost every inch of the hall. And the night before sing is the overnight. So we get put into the hall around about 10 p.m. We're allowed out to the hall to reveille the next morning. But we can't go to sleep. We have to keep going until the actual event is done.
Wow.
And it was hard. It was tiring. But it is my best memory of camp. And I've done it for 2 years. And I'm hoping to do it again this summer.
Yeah.
And it is just pure 48 hours of being awake, painting. You know, we would do every hour, an alarm would go off. And we'd stop and just get up and dance. And you know, just anything just to keep us awake, keep us going. And even though like Olympics can get very intense,
Yes.
and you can even start to hate each other if you're on different teams.
Yeah.
But this was the one thing where we actually helped each other, because there was so much to do. So like I've been on blue team the last 2 summers, but even if someone on white team needed help, we would go and help them because we were all in the same boat. We all just had to get it done.
Yeah.
And best thing I've ever done at camp.
Oh, love that. You know, I bet people are going to be divided on that opinion as well, though, because some people absolutely hate Colour Water Olympics sing. Some people absolutely love it.
But
For
people
one,
were telling me not to do it. They were like, it's the worst thing ever. And I was like, I'll be the judge of that.
yeah, I mean, in my opinion, it is for a fact one of the most exhausting parts of camp.
Yes.
But it can be the most rewarding as well, especially if your team wins. Because my first year, I was on white team, we lost. Actually devastating. Like, you actually just want to cry with the kids. You understand why it's such a big deal. And then last year when I went, I was on blue team and we won. And I've never felt such like excitement in my life. Like you get really invested with it.
Well, the last 2 summers, my team have lost. So I'm yet to feel.
Third time's a charm.
I'm hoping for one this year.
Yeah.
Like the first summer, I was just kind of like, oh, well, that's it, we didn't win. Last summer, I was crying with them.
Yeah, you really get into
like,
it, don't
I really
you?
want to win this. And we won some of the big events. Then it was like 20 points between us by the end of the summer.
Oh my God.
So it was so close. And I was there crying with them. And first summer me would be like, why?
Yeah.
But last summer me was like, I totally get it. And especially because like Olympics is pent up throughout the summer. You were waiting for that final week or 2 for it to break out. And then it all of a sudden does, and it's just non-stop. You get yourself so caught up in it, so excited, the emotions take over. It's intense. I don't think I've finished an Olympic week with a voice either.
And that's good. That means you've done it right. And I think, you know, loads of people, I think my advice to people who are going for the first year is that you might not understand everything your first year. Like it's tradition. It's like probably been built in the camp for years, and you sometimes have to go back for a second year to like truly enjoy the traditions of it. My first year, I got given advisor for Olympics, which is obviously just like a role that you can get as a counsellor. And at the time, you know, I got told in secret, and I was just like, okay, yeah, whatever, like that sounds cool. And then I went back my second year and then actually realised it was like a big deal. So when I saw other counsellors get an advisor, I'd be like, oh my God, well done. And then some of them would be like, what does it mean? And I'd have to explain it. But yeah, it's just built on tradition. I feel like you just have to, you know, just adapt, like take everything in your first year. But I always say you have to guarantee yourself a second year, just because.
Absolutely.
A minimum of 2 years, I think, for camp, and then a third if you want.
I've said to everyone who's like returning to start like this year, they're worried they're not going to have the same experience. And like, no, you have a better experience because you know what to expect, you know you can get involved in things, you know what things are, you know how to learn everything whilst you do it.
Yeah.
Which I think is what makes your first summer so tiring and slightly harder. It's that you're learning everything. Your second summer, you're going back with just enjoyment. You know what to expect, you know what you're doing, you can just get straight stuck into everything.
Yeah, 100%. I think you just have to give it your all, and you'll reap the benefits of it, as they say. Do you know, with loads of first-time counsellors going this year, they're pretty much like sorted now. They're going to be flying out really soon. But as you know, we're getting loads of people apply for 2026, which is crazy because it's a year and a bit away. There are some people still who are a little bit on the fence about doing it. They kind of want to hear testimonials, and that's why we love doing these podcasts, just to kind of give advice to these people. What advice would you give to someone who is thinking of doing AmeriCamp, but they're kind of on the fence for it?
My one piece of advice was, if you have the inkling to do it, just do it, because when you look back, you're not going to regret it. Whenever I've left camp or summers, I haven't looked back and thought about all the times I wanted to go home or just wanted to sleep. I've looked back and remember the times of pure enjoyment, splashing around in the lake, doing all the camp dances, and those memories will stick with you. And you might be a bit hesitant to do it, but it would be the best thing you ever do. You'll meet people from all over the world, make lifelong friends, travel America, and especially if it's your first time going to the States, it's an amazing experience. And, there's a viewer who grew up watching Disney Channel and all that, and you were like, I wish I could go on a yellow school bus, wish I could do that. It's also living a bit of your childhood again. You are kind of like a big kid at camp. So I would just set up, and then when you get there, make sure you get involved in as much as you possibly can. If you don't get involved, you're not going to enjoy it. So if you get involved, sign up, push yourself out of your comfort zone, it is going to be the best thing you ever do.
Yes, absolutely. You've just got to do it. I always say that as well, Euan, if you just have a slight inkling that you want to do it, then just do it, because there's something in your mind that is, you're wired like a camp counsellor. If you see that it's appealing, it is meant for you, and I would just give it a go. Yeah. We see loads of people, and you probably have as well, who leave during orientation because they just don't think it's for them. But I think that the biggest thing, and you said it, that you were thinking of going home. It happened to me my first year. If I went home, oh my God, the regret I would feel. I feel like you honestly just have to commit to at least 3-4 weeks, and then if you're really, really not liking it, then yes, go home. But it's only 7 weeks of your life, 8 weeks at most, and I feel like you've just got to do it because you'll just reap the benefits. So 100% agree with that. It's been fantastic chatting about everything, your camp, about Starlight, about your first year, about advice. It's fantastic. Like you said, Euan, you do TikTok for us as well. So it will be great if you could kind of give yourself a little plug. What is your TikTok? How can people find you? If people have any questions, can they contact you anywhere?
So my TikTok is Euan Summer Camp and Travel, spelled EUAN. Though I'm Welsh, it is the Scottish spelling.
There we go. And if anyone has any questions regarding AmeriCamp, about Camp Starlight, just about anything in general, you can message Euan over on TikTok. He has loads of fab videos over there, kind of about what life is like at his camp, and just loads of informative videos as well, which is fantastic if you're going to camp for the first time. You can obviously message us as well, AmeriCamp. You can do it via Instagram. You can ring us, give us a call, email us. There's loads of different ways that you can get to us. But yeah, I just kind of want to wrap the podcast up like that. I don't know if there's anything else, Euan, that you kind of want to bring forward, or if there's anything else you want to say, or if you're happy with everything.
Just one thing, if you go into camp this summer, just make sure to soak it up and enjoy it. Like the owners of my camp say, there's only one summer of 2025, so make the most of it. And it's going to be the one and only summer, and it's going to be the best summer. So just make the most of it, live in the moment, and come out of it with just all good memories.
Yeah, No truer words have been spoken. So thank you, Euan, obviously, for coming on the podcast. It's been fabulous catching up. I hope you have a fantastic summer. How many days is it until you fly out?
About 40 days.
Oh my God, that is
40
gonna
days.
absolutely fly. The weather's gorgeous as well, so you're gonna enjoy your time in the UK and then you're gonna go to the US, which will just be fab. So yeah, thank you so much for coming on the podcast, Euan. Thank you everyone for listening, and we'll catch you on the next episode of Around the Campfire. So goodbye, everybody.